Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. My back is feeling better. Turns out when you nurse it in the beginning, you can recover a lot quicker. On this week's video, I am doing some holiday DIY decor. I'm using JRV, I'm using IOD, I'm using DIY, all kinds of products to just create some fun holiday stuff. I'm ready to get in the mood. It is November. If you want to see what I do, stick around. For today's first project, I grabbed the bottom, this metal sled bottom that I had thrifted and was in my little Christmas stash. And then I married it up with this piece of scrap wood. I used this wood to make a herringbone statement wall. And I just cut off the end, rounded the corners. And now I'm going to lightly paint the bottom. This was like a gray metal color, but I really didn't love it. So I grabbed DIY paint in the color Marquee. I did not do full coverage, and I liked the way it had this mottled look to it. So I just did one coat of that and then went over the whole thing with Big Top to seal it in. And I was considering doing some dark wax, but I'm loving the tone of this. Now I'm looking at this piece of wood and there's that fresh cut and freshly sanded. So look at me, I'm getting out old and gray just like I did in my last video. This is versatile, guys. So I'm going over the whole thing with the old and gray liquid patina from DIY. Putting that on there and getting a paper towel and just wiping it back. You can see it gives everything that glazed look, and now all the fresh cuts have the gray over it. Next, I am getting the mold. This is from the IOD release this Christmas, Oh Christmas Tree. And just doing the little swags up at the top, I made sure I put cornstarch in there first so that your air dry clay can pop out of there easily. As you can see, I am just rubbing in. I'm using the DAS air dry clay that I got at Hobby Lobby. I will put a link to Amazon as well. And the great thing about the IOD molds, it has that micro rim to help those edges be nice and crisp and clean. Then I turn my mold over and let gravity do the work, and I am pulling them out. While they are still wet, I'm going to go ahead and paint them with 2 coats of DIY paint in the color Aviary. I wanted to paint this prior to putting on the wood because I want this wood and painted look on top, so I didn't want to make a complete mess. So I just did 2 coats of Aviary, and then I also did a top coat of Big Top before I put it on the wood, just to try to make my life a little easier. So the clay is wet, but the paint in the Big Top is dry. So I am carefully putting on Type-On glue and just flanking the top here to have a nice framed in look. And I am loving how this is looking so far. This little piece came off. That's okay. I'm just going to glue it back on. This is me wiping off the glue. Originally, I was going to use this transfer from last year's Christmas transfer book. I still have some of those left and I need to get them out of here. But then the bottom was going to cover up the bear. So I found this cute little Santa in the Candy Cane Cottage transfer book from this year, and he fit in there perfectly. And also the red really goes with the sled legs. So it was totally meant to be. So I'm using the stick that comes with the pack to burnish him on there, and you can see how it changes color so you know that it's adhering. After that, I'm going to use my fingers to make sure it's completely on there, and then the back of the plastic. And I love how this turned out. Next, I am going to use some E6000 glue to glue it onto the sled, put a heavy book on top of it, and let it dry for a complete 24 hours. And here are the results. I think he's a very handsome Santa. For my next projects, plural, I am going to marry these old cut-off pieces from spindles that I used for my kids' blanket ladder and thrifted bottle brush trees that I've gotten throughout this year at the thrift store, and then some that I got at the Dollar Tree recently. So I'm basically taking dark and decrepit and just putting it over all the raw wood because I'm going to marry this with these salvage pieces, and I do not want it to look brand new. I'm just using Titebond, and because 3 of these ends are completely straight, it's just an easy, make sure the glue is all the way on the bottom of the wood, press it down to the salvage piece, and let it dry for 24 hours. I kept all the ends nice and old looking. Some of them had some slants to it and some nails sticking out, and I just went with it. This one right here, this tree I got from the Dollar Tree this year, there were already holes in this one, and I just glued it right into the holes on the end. This one had some nails sticking out, so I hammered them in so that I could glue this one kind of at a slant, so I needed some hot glue to make sure that it stayed on there. But I am really happy with how those turned out. Now I'm going to grab some metal that I have in my stash, and I'm just going to use that salvage wood right there instead of floral foam. Just going to glue the tree into the already existing hole that's in there. And then I am going to do just a little bit of hot glue to get the wood to stick to the bottom of the metal. If someone wanted to get this out, I'm sure that they could pop it out if they decided that, but thought that this was a really cute marrying of old pieces of wood, scrap wood, and thrifted finds. This was a thrifted tree, and I just decided to take the little block off of this one. It just depended on the pieces. Some I left the little blocks, and some I just drilled a hole down the center. You need your battery in order for that to work. You just drill a hole down the center, which helps the wire from the tree just stick right down there. And then some of them I kept the bases on. It just depended on the pieces that I was using. Now here is a spindle that I had. I took a hammer and popped that little one that was sticking out, and then used my chop saw to make 4 different little bottoms. And I thought, I love white and wood, so since these were just crisp white trees that I got last year at Walmart after Christmas, I decided to have just like that old wood bottom and the crisp white trees on the top. I decided to hot glue it and thought that these guys look really cute together. Now for my next little bases, they were kind of hollow, so I just grabbed some floral foam, stuffed it down in there to kind of give something for the wire trees to be glued into, and that was a simple little bottom. Whenever I find these little wooden pieces and bottle brush trees, I always pick them up at the thrift store. Now this tall white one needed a chunkier bottom, so I grabbed this one, and look at this little family of trees. For project number 3, I am going to tackle these solid wooden frames that I showed in this week's thrift haul. And I got them for $2 a piece. And guys, they're originally from Zehrs. Do you guys remember that store? I remember that store growing up. And according to my kids, if this store went out of business in my childhood, then these are officially, I don't know, vintage. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm doing a coat of DIY's Salvation Solution in the color white, just making sure I cover all the nooks and crannies. I don't want any of those wooden tannins to come through my paint. And now I'm going to go over the whole thing with 2 coats of Prairie Grey. I just love, love, love this color. As I'm painting these, I'm like, should I keep these frames for myself? Wouldn't they look good with like kid pictures or family pictures in them or something? Anyway, so 2 coats of Prairie Grey, and now I'm going to put a little bit of faded burlap on the top, spraying it with the water mister. Reactivates the paint, and I just lightly went over it with the color faded burlap and added some dimension. I was considering adding wax, but really liked the colors faded burlap and Prairie Grey together. Let me know what you guys think about this combination in the comments below. I am completely in love with these picture frames. After this, I do go over the whole thing with Big Top to seal these colors in. And I just think it's dreamy. So $2 wooden frames from Zayre's with that shiny orangey color, now looking completely gorgeous with a 2-tone color, covering it with Big Top to seal it all in. And I feel like so many things would look good in here. I am going to put in the Vintage Santa print from JRV. It's rice paper. It's just an easy thing to cut to size and put inside your frames. They are on my website. This print is on my website right now. All my DIY paint products and JRV products are on my website at createyourowncozy.com. Go check that out if you are interested. Last year I made some tree mugs and they sold pretty well in my booth. So I decided to grab these mugs that I got for $1.99 a piece. Look, I know that there is a little S for Santa and I could have just left that, but decided I was going to use some more of my transfers from the Cottage Lane transfer book. Thought these little roses would be really cute. And you know what? You could not even tell that there was a little indentation for the initial. So just keep in mind when you're out there thrifting, if you see these personalized mugs, there are little ways that you can cover that up and make it your own. So because it is a rounded surface, I'm just starting on one side, rubbing it in and taking my time so that there's not wrinkling in the transfer. And I'm pretty sure that this is way more fabulous than when it started. So I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby and grab the little mini trees from there. They were $4.99, so they're half off, pretty good price point. And I am going to hot glue them in. And then I had this, I made it over a while ago and I had a little topiary inside. All I did was take the metal and put some burlap and a ribbon over top of it. And now this is also going to be a little tree mug, tree container. What do you guys think? For my fifth and final project this week, I am going into my stash and getting this thrifted cutting board. I think I paid $4 for it. I always try to pick these up when I'm thrifting, and I'm going to use the big guy in the back of the Holly Glen transfer book. I have used a lot of these transfers, but there are still so many more to use. So I thought at first I was going to try to paint this, that Prairie Grey and faded burlap, and then I was like, you know what, let's try this first. We are going over the whole thing with DIY's Dark and Decrepit. That is a liquid patina, so it is a top coat. So I am going to go over this with the liquid patina, and I'm going to wipe back the excess so that it behaves more like a glaze or a stain. So since this is a liquid patina, I can put a transfer over the top of it. If this was a wax, I would not be able to do that. So aren't you guys proud of me? I am using a measuring tape to make sure I get it in the center instead of just eyeballing it. And then I'm using the tool to make sure it adheres to the wood, and then burnish it in with my hands. And then in this little corner up here, I'm just sanding the corner off, and I'm going over the whole thing with Big Top. And then I found some ribbon that I had from last year from Hobby Lobby to just go in the little corner. And I think this guy is a cutie pie. What do you guys think? So what did you guys think? Did you guys have a favorite? I know that I really love those little Christmas tree mugs. They are such fun little holiday gifts, and they seem to sell really well last year in my booth. And they're good ideas for little hostess gifts, or if you're visiting somebody in a nursing home and they can't have their own Christmas tree, it is a fun, festive way to bring them some fun holiday cheer. So I hope that you guys had fun watching this week's video. I am in my brain getting ready now for, it's about to be Thanksgiving. So I'm starting to think about what kind of things do I want to do as a tradition in my family this year. Thinking about, do we want to make some Christmas ornaments for Thanksgiving? Just something fun that can become a tradition. We've done a couple of things like that. Let me know in the comments below. Do you guys have any Thanksgiving Day traditions in your family that just every time it comes around, just brings a smile to your face? Guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you're not already subscribed, please consider joining this Create Your Own Cozy family and hitting that notification bell to all so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I'm so thankful you're here. Do not forget to create and feed that creative soul within you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Henry, you're actually downstairs with me, but what did you do to your pretty bed? What did you do? Oh no. That's a very pretty bed. What did you do? What did you do to that pretty bed? Oh my goodness, there's more. You little stinker. Henry. Henry. What'd you do that for?